Game 4.
She just presses a button, and the whole thing collapses.
A day hasn't gone by that Jim hasn't made me laugh.
I have some good news.
He finally made it to the national championship game.
You're such a good
Coach.
Okay, Daddy's home. Everybody make a big deal.
What are you doing?
Making sure they don't have boyfriends till they're 15.
You don't have to give up romance just because you're married to Jim.
How much do you love me right now?
You asked it around, get a question right in my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, Mel.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric welcoming you to 2024, where we've had some incredible developments already. I know Mark Fellhauer's year started off right, and so those of us who hate watched the game yesterday are not looking forward to what's about to happen this show, which is a recap of Michigan's ascension, and we are going to be tipping our cap to Jim Harbaugh and the boys from Ann Arbor as our intro and our Room 7609 tune this day suggest. Shawn is dialing in from L.A., where he is under the weather because he was in Dallas for a late game, and then he was in Pasadena for a late game. So we appreciate him rising to the occasion, and we'll find out what sort of crimes were committed in his rental vehicle. So there's a lot to look forward to there. And we have to thank Erica Erickson. If you missed the last couple shows of 2023, Erica was our special guest. She's fantastic, and we look forward to having her back on the show again soon. And I also want to let you know, over the holiday, we got together with intern Al and set up our Patreon. So if you go to Patreon and look for ML Soul of Detroit, you can sign up to support this show financially. We are working the bugs out, so I want to apologize in advance for any hiccups that we run into, but we would appreciate it if you could become a sponsor of this show, because you're the most important part of this show, after me, frankly, because Shawn will tell you in a minute that it's all about me. But we would love to have you as part of our crew, and we have an old friend is back on the show as well. Dr. Yaldo, we are pleased to welcome longtime Red Shovel sponsor, the Yaldo Eye Center, to Soul of Detroit. Dr. Yaldo provided many thousands of Michiganders with state-of-the-art eye procedures, giving them precise vision both near and far without the need for glasses, contacts, or reading glasses. Go to yaldoeyecenter.com and schedule your free evaluation. A little later in the show, I'll tell you about my experience with LASIK and why I recommend it so highly. And we're also sponsored by another gentleman who sponsors the Red Shovel Network and has been a supporter of this show for many years. That's Luke Nowacki and Pinnacle Wealth Strategies. We'll tell you how Luke can help you set yourself up for a secure financial future. That'll be a little bit later on the show, because I've been talking for a long time, but I know that Mark has got to be bursting at the seams to talk about his Michigan Wolverines. It sure looked like the Wolverines knew what play Alabama was going to call in the last one, but I really don't think...
Everybody knew that Jalen Milroe was going to run that ball.
Yeah, I really don't think Connor Stallions helped them win in overtime.
No, but I will say, I don't know if you saw the post-game interview with Blake Corum on the field.
No. I did.
I swear to God, the guy standing behind him looked just like Connor Stallions. I'm like, God, that would have been great. That would have been just great if he was on the field.
Well, if they have the same team investigating his presence that they have in Mount Pleasant, it'll be another year before we find out whether he was actually on the sidelines. So, So don't hold your breath, folks. But I'll tell you, that game had a lot of big pendulum swings, and in the second half, it looked like Michigan could do nothing until Milroe fumbled, and then it looked like Alabama could do nothing. And when Michigan tied it up, I turned to Teresa and some of our friends who were watching the game, and I said, Michigan's going to win. And they did. It was a pretty impressive finish to a game that had lots of gaffes, lots of big plays, and boy, oh boy.
That was really the biggest surprise is, I've said it all year, and Shawn, you can probably attest to this. I was like, Michigan doesn't beat themselves. They don't make mistakes. No, boy, they made up for it last night. Missed extra point. missed field goal.
Almost had a pick to start the game.
Oh, I know.
2 fumbles on kicks.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so I mean, it was very uncharacteristic, but I guess that'll happen on a big stage. But other than that, it's a good team. I felt like they were just I was telling Shawn before the show, I was really getting pissed off because everybody was acting like Michigan didn't stand a chance, and here they are, the number 1 team in the nation with, a pretty good year behind them. The last 4 games are tough wins, and yet everyone, because it says Alabama across their chest, you laughed at me when I said I'd rather play Alabama than Texas.
Yeah, no, I think Alabama could have and should have won that game, and they just didn't. They
should have.
Yeah, no, I think they should have. I think that Milroe fumble, they were running the table.
They didn't get any points off that fumble. Remember, that was the missed field goal drive.
No, I know, but after that fumble, it really seemed to ignite Michigan. Michigan just seemed like they were in a funk, and after that fumble, holy crap, they took over because they were not impressive in the second half until they had that turnover, and it was like a shot of adrenaline. And from that point on, it was, Katie barred the door. Michigan was coming. And some of the deep, for the vaunted Alabama defense, they're leaving guys wide. And okay. So let me back up. Let me back up.
I love seeing this through the perspective of someone who is not emotionally invested. What's that?
Doesn't know anything about football.
Well, the other thing is, big credit to Jim Harbaugh for that 4th and 2 call. Holy shit, deep in their own end. What a gutsy call. And shame on Alabama for turning into a big ripper like that. That was insane.
I don't think that was that amazing of a call. They had no choice but to go for it there. I don't care if they had 3 timeouts. They couldn't stop Alabama's run.
Yeah, because despite what Mike said, Alabama was still running the ball.
Yeah.
Michigan just tightened up in the red zone. I'm talking about the second half, right? So,
yes.
It was a great game. It's a great setting. A B-1 bomber flew over the stadium for.
That was sweet.
You don't get to see the flying wing very often.
That's why they call it a stealth plane, Shawn.
The mountains are there, the ocean's there. Yeah, no, it's great. But we probably ought to talk about. And by the way, I'm back in LA, back at the scene of the crime. It's the very same hotel, I might point out, where the mysterious jacket appeared.
Is it still in the lost and found at the hotel?
Yeah.
No one went to claim it.
But I do have a question for you guys, if I may. If we may back up.
Yes, please, Crypt Keeper.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
If we just can back up in time a little bit, because we haven't talked in a bit. And sorry about the voice here. But
we were just together the day after Christmas. What do you mean it's been a while?
That's true. But speaking of the holidays and Christmas, and let's keep in the football vein here. Christmas Eve, the Lions clinch. Mm-hmm. I don't think we've talked about this, have we?
No.
Well, I don't know anything about football, so I'm just going to dip out of this conversation.
Yeah, I was just having a little fun, Mr. Sensitive.
Well, need I remind you that in the late 90s, in the Chicago Sport and Social Club Co-ed Touch Football League, they're still telling stories about my accomplishments on the field.
Well, I'm sure you've got good natural speed. You got a nice stride. You got a lot of natural, let's face it, beauty. And I'm sure that's distracting when you're at a touch football game. So, no, I can see how you'd be an effective player for sure. You got that nice mane up on top. At least back in those days, it was probably just luxurious.
It's hard to see with the helmet.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because some of those women were tough. I had to protect myself.
No. In all seriousness, you were talking about Alabama or Michigan taking off to the fumble. They had one drive in the second half, and it was mostly out of desperation. I mean, you know what I mean? So that's all. I was just gigging you for spending more time talking when you were watching the game probably than watching the game. Of course, you got to entertain your guests, right? So
no, Teresa was telling a friend of ours about Outlander the whole time. I'm like, well, I'm glad we got together to watch the game so we can talk about a 17th century Scottish rape fantasy show.
Oh, well, that explains your recap. But that sounds like fun, though, in a way.
She probably watched more game than my wife did. So I don't know what Julie did during the game. I watched it with the girls and finally swore in front of Charlotte after 9 years. particularly on the fumble by Samaj Morgan on the punt. I just went shit, and then I went, oh, sorry about that. Just a couple shits.
It's better that she sees Daddy's, passions and what that does to him.
Well, you know what? That's funny you say that because I try to be I think I am fairly unemotional until it comes to football. When it comes to football games, I'm probably overly emotional, and that's kind of why I like it because I'm never that way. So she gets to see that passion. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't know if she didn't like it though when I picked her up when we won because I was so excited. I ripped my jersey off and picked her up and bench pressed her like that a couple times, and then picked up the 5-year-old.
Yeah, that wasn't her thing, eh?
No, I think it's because I scared her more than anything.
I'm surprised you didn't pick Mike up. Now that would have been.
If he was there, I would have. I could have picked up anybody that was in that room. I was so pumped with adrenaline.
It was like Bruce Banner trying to get that. What did he do with the radioactive shit to be
the Hulk?
Yeah, gamma rays. He was looking for gamma ray strength, but he never got it. He never did get it.
But I'm intrigued, from ML's perspective, like watching that game when you're not as emotionally involved, except from like you said, hate watching it because you just hate both schools. Did you see that as a good game or was that a sloppy game? Because I just think of both mistakes. Both teams made a lot of mistakes.
So it was a sloppy game, but it was close, and I did feel like the pendulum swung. There were real momentum shifts. At least that's what it felt like to me in my basement, where I neither cursed nor exercised with children. But it was a fun game to watch, and it was one of those where obviously I was rooting for the Spartan coach on the sideline. But were you really rooting for Alabama? Yeah.
Why?
I wasn't rooting for Alabama. I just didn't want Michigan to win. So by default, I had to.
I don't understand that. You don't want me to be happy?
I do want you to be happy, but you have a full life. Your life doesn't revolve around what a bunch of overpaid guys do on a Saturday when they're not carrying guns around and speeding through neighborhoods or getting their ass kicked in tunnels.
Oh, I know that, but I just told you it's the one very unemotional thing that I can really grab onto. Or very emotional thing I can grab onto.
Well, may I suggest the arts, perhaps a little sculpting or something, or you could go to a poetry slam and.
This is my art. Football is my art.
Okay,
I love it.
It's an interesting,
really,
violent ground acquisition game.
Well, to that point, why root against a school that isn't yours?
Because Michigan's the college football dynamic in the state of Michigan is a seesaw, and when one is up, the other one is down. And right now, we're down, the Wolverines are up, and it's going to be hard for us to rise as long as the Wolverines are doing well. Now, you could argue, if you wanted to take the long view, that the best thing that could possibly happen in the short term for Spartan football is that Jim Harbaugh wins a national championship and leaves, because I think that would put Michigan at a disadvantage, not only in replacing him, although I guess they'd be stuck with Sharon Moore, or they would not a bad guy to be stuck with. Yeah, but they'd have an in-house candidate that they couldn't refuse. But I think that would be in Michigan State's best interest. But I don't like Jim Harbaugh. I don't like the way he conducts himself. I don't like the fact that this team that is so good has been operating under a cloud because he's done these things that frankly, I don't think this team needed to win, despite all this 11th hour talk about, hey, have you noticed J.J. McCarthy's statistics have gone down since? Yeah, and so did the quality of their opponents. It went through the roof. Yeah. So, I mean, there's some false equivalency going on here, but I don't like it when the coach gets in the way. I was done with Jim Schwartz when he threw that flag that cost the Lions a game. I don't think a coach should ever cost a team a game by something he did because he couldn't control himself. But listen, Jim Harbaugh is also the guy who got them here, so you can't take anything away from him. And in room 7609, I will be doing my own tribute to Jim Harbaugh. So stick around for that, even if you don't like new wave music.
I want to ask Shawn this.
The other coach I got to criticize. So it was a good game. I watched the Texans or Texas and Washington. Michael Penix, by the way, is there anywhere he can't drop a ball? You talk about the B-1 bomber. This guy is a precision bomber, and the Washington receivers, if it touches them, they don't drop it. It's unbelievable. But Kalen DeBoer at the end of the game almost cost them the game. by running that running back into the line over and over again. First of all, he's carrying like a loaf of bread. And second of all, can you come up with something that's going to chew up a little more clock? Why would you not have Penix just do something with it?
That's the nature of coaching, though, is to be ultra conservative in a situation like that.
But to me, I don't let anybody else touch the ball. That's ultra conservative.
Sure.
But that was a fantastic game, depending on how you define the game. The defenses didn't stop anybody. So if you love defense, it's a terrible game. But if you like games that are full of tension and where every play seems to matter, fantastic game. And Michigan, Washington, the only thing missing from that game,
two Big Ten teams,
is it not being played in the Rose Bowl, which would bring back some classic matchups. So I thought both games were fantastic. I think Florida State still have a beef. You can't talk about that game against Georgia where the JV for the Seminoles played. But wow, I'll tell you what, that was some good TV on a Monday night.
I wanted to ask Shawn.
Shawn was going to take us back to Dallas.
We'll get back to Dallas in a second. I mean, this is Michigan's hour. No, I'm just kidding. But
no,
Shawn,
it is the hour. This is the Wolverines' hour. They should be reveling in this.
You don't like Harbaugh, and I've admitted that he's a very weird guy. He does a lot of weird things. I like him a lot more when he's winning. But Shawn, is there a lot of similarity here between him and, say, Lloyd and maybe D'Antonio and how they're perceived outside the program as opposed to inside the program? Because I've never seen a coach like Harbaugh talk about how much he, quote, loves his players. Like, there's a genuine, like, man love there, and how he always puts the players forth. And then they say the same thing. It's a little weird, but I've never seen a coach do that. Do you agree with that, Shawn?
I don't think it's weird. And why do we need to say man love? Why can't you just say love?
Well, because I don't think he's romantically in love with them.
Be comfortable with yourself and just say love. He loves his players.
Well, because man-boy love has some negative connotations. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, he is, yeah.
They're gladiators out there.
They are student athletes.
It's unusual. And
really?
Lloyd Carr was really close with his guys. Yeah.
But I mean, the perception outwards, and I think the same. Always thought D'Antonio was perceived by the opposing fan base as Lloyd was, where it's just this angry, gruff guy outwardly, but inwardly, people really, loved him and respected him.
Yeah, no, Lloyd and D'Antonio.
What about Woody Hayes? It had to be the same thing for Woody, right? Everybody hated Woody unless you were a Buckeye.
Yeah, maybe that's just
a
nature,
psychopath.
Maybe the nature of a head coach.
But it's interesting you say D'Antonio and Carr because there were definitely some similarities there. Not in political, interestingly enough, not in political view or sort of world view, but just the way they carried themselves, the way they related. They were both beloved by their players.
Sense of humor.
And, they both had really good dry senses of humor, and you're right that they kind of kept tucked away. I don't know that Harbaugh thinks. I don't know that he thinks like that. He can't help himself. He's just so publicly authentic. You know what I mean? He just doesn't hide anything. So
doesn't hide anything. The guy got suspended for 3 games for lying. He hides a lot of shit.
No, he swears up and down he was telling the truth. Whatever. I mean, he can't help but be himself. People think he's eccentric or quirky. Those are euphemisms or weird or odd or whatever, perhaps somewhere, right? I don't want to speculate about health issues, but I think we know what we're talking about. And people think that because he doesn't hide who he is. He doesn't try to come off as a certain way. He can't help it. He can only be that way. He's not one of these human beings that can be other ways. He can be one way.
He did something, and I think sometimes we forget how good of an X's and O's coach he is, but he did something yesterday I wasn't so sure he could do, and that was out coach Nick Saban. I really think they had a much better game plan, especially that first offensive drive, the first touchdown that the offense had for Michigan. There was like 5 plays out of formations that I've never seen them run this whole year. I mean, they had a very different way to attack Alabama than I thought they would.
Yeah, the counter toss flip back to I think it was Corum.
Yeah. Well, and how about this? How many times
did? Yeah, well, you get a month off. You want to be a little more inventive. I don't know that our readers want to. Listeners. I'm sorry, newspaper guy in me. I don't think our listeners necessarily want an X and O breakdown, but they might want to opine or maybe hear y'all's opinion on this. So we're talking football. We're going to go just bear with me just for 1 second. We're going to go back in time a little bit to Christmas Eve.
Yes. There we go.
And
Thank you.
We're going to stay in football. Yeah, let's get back to Christmas Eve. So I'm on a plane in Minneapolis.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
To come home. And the Lions, no, I want y'all's take on this. The Lions are, they've just clinched the division. For the first time in 30 years, the plane is full of Lions fans, Lions jerseys. The steward, the flight attendant is wearing a Santa hat, gets on the plane and says something about the Lions. The plane erupts. And then she said, hey, I want to send a selfie to my dad. So she has the whole plane. So this is the kind of convivial, jovial holiday spirit. You know, it's 8 o'clock at night on Christmas Eve. Everybody's trying to get home to their families. The Lions have just done this historical thing. So I'm sitting in an exit row aisle, and the guy across from me, and we're just behind the Delta. I'm on Delta. It's just behind Delta Comfort. And, you know, if you have status, you can have access to getting free bump ups or upgrades, whatever you want to call them. And, you know, I didn't get one. I have a little bit of status. I'm in the exit row in the aisle. The guy right across from me stops the flight attendant, this fun-loving flight attendant, says, excuse me, but I saw a pilot sitting in Delta Comfort. Those seats are for paying customers. That is outrageous that he's sitting there. I'm a platinum member. That should be my seat.
Oh my God.
And I went and I just want to make a complaint with Delta. This is Christmas Eve with flight attendants and Santa hats.
What
and the Lions have just done this. So what do y'all think of this? I couldn't believe it. It was everything I could do not to say anything. Would y'all say anything when you are out in public and you hear that kind of level of douchebaggery and entitlement? Do you say something, or do you bite your tongue?
Oh, I bite my tongue because you never know what kind of miserable experience they must be going through to be that kind of an asshole. But it'd be nice if they would show a little empathy. What does he want the flight attendant to do about it? It's not her call.
I don't know. And I'm also thinking, hey, these pilots, they fly us around 5-6 miles up in the air and get us to where we need to go. And it's a minor miracle every time it works.
Yeah.
So they have a little extra leg room.
Who cares? I mean, this guy obviously has a problem because he's so platinum.
Yeah, I kind of have a rule that I don't beef with a pilot until the plane lands. I don't want to get these guys in a bad mood, or if they're we're having a problem, we're out of parachutes, we're one short. This guy is bitching at me up in Delta Comfort. Let's give him a backpack and send him out.
Look at it this way. Now there's a pilot on board, too, in case something does happen. That guy's closer to the cockpit. So
unless his name's Frank Abagnale, then you're in trouble.
But, that is an issue point. It is Christmas Eve. Just shut up. Just take stock in what's going on in your life.
I know. I was just thinking about it. Maybe the poor guy had just gone through something awful, right? You always want to try to extend that grace, but I was just thinking about the moment and just what you're right, to your point. What must somebody be going through to not be able to revel in that?
Yeah,
in any way.
They're either just a miserable human being, right, all the time, or maybe they're going, I don't know, maybe they're on a bereavement flight, I don't know, and they're just being salty. Who knows?
Yeah, no, for sure. You're right. You don't know. You ever read Infinite Jest or anything by David Foster Wallace?
Very much so. Yes.
Where are we going with this?
This is Water. No, I get it.
What's that?
This is Water. His commencement speech about empathy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The commencement. Yeah, exactly. That was one of the more poignant things I think probably ever came out of his brain. That complicated brain of his, right?
Oh yeah,
and he was. And his example, if I'm not mistaken, was when you're on the road and somebody cuts you off, or takes a parking spot or does whatever, and your instant reaction is just rage, and because it's very human. But you have no idea if they're coming from hospice.
Exactly. That's why I saved my rage for college and pro football. And that's why I'm very mad at the official in Dallas last week, still.
Yeah, before we get to Dallas, Shawn, tell what was it like in Pasadena? I mean, were there more Wolverine fans there than
a little bit
than Crimson Tide fans? I hear the press box was like a quarantine. Yeah, I mean, there was a fever raging through there.
Yeah, Bob went out. Yeah, right. It's been going around. Same with Dallas. Some of the Detroit media. Yeah, I just think there's a lot of that going around. Bob Winowski tweeted out during the game yesterday that he thought the crowd was, I don't know, what did he say, 65-45? I don't think it was, or 65-35 maybe. Or even, but I don't think it was that. There were definitely more Michigan fans, but not by a lot. 55-45 at most.
Yeah. Yeah, they were saying on the broadcast 60-40. Mm-hmm.
It's funny because there were some folks in the press box and they were shocked at how many Alabama fans were there. I'm like, what?
Why? Yeah.
Alabama travels. The Ohio State and Alabama probably travel like no other two schools.
Except they're spoiled.
Well, I think Wisconsin would have an argument there, and I think Michigan would too.
Well, Michigan travels in part because the alumni base. I mean, California is their largest alumni base, right? Yeah. So it's a lot of. I mean, Michigan. We don't want to go down this road about in-state tuition and all that, but they love their out-of-state students.
I know. All three of us have been to the Rose Bowl. I haven't been there in 30 years. I think 80, 88, 89. I don't know. So God, longer than that. And it was nice. I wasn't blown away by it. Everybody talks like, it's this cathedral of college.
Oh, no, it's a beautiful, but Mark, it's
what I wanted to ask you, setting. What is it about it though?
It's the setting. I mean, it's
the
an
San
older
Gabriel's.
Stadium. Yeah, it's especially depending on what side you are. Yeah, but it's the setting. It's in this little valley, as you guys know, not a huge valley, but just kind of a dip. It dips in, and it's the stadium itself is beautiful from the outside, and then it's just the setting and the way the sun sets on the mountains. The sun setting over the Pacific west. It reflects back on the San Gabriel Mountains, where they're just the east of the stadium. I mean, literally. And it's spectacular. But
I was pointing.
It's just thinking about the atmosphere. I would argue that there was more. This is crazy to say because there was more on the line yesterday in this game. When I was there for Michigan State, I don't know if it's because. Who knows? I don't. Maybe Mike has some theories, but there was actually more buzz and tension in that Michigan State Stanford Rose Bowl than yesterday. And I don't know if it's because of the history. I mean, does Michigan State rising up, and an underdog story is a better story, or Michigan State fans just feel a certain way? I mean, I don't think they ever expected to be there. Maybe that was part of it, but it was weirdly subdued for a little bit yesterday.
Well, I mean,
a lot of cake eaters out there, but that stadium is, first of all, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And one of the things and I've only been once, when the Spartans went when I was a student, I had a bunch of friends who went out there, but I had to go to the paint store because I needed to make some money to pay for the next semester. So I missed out on that opportunity. And when it came up in 2014, I made sure I didn't miss out. But it's in a neighborhood. I mean, that's the thing that's amazing. It's this Coliseum, and if you take a wrong turn, you're in a subdivision. I mean, it's crazy, and I love, unlike the Big House, which is also
in a neighborhood,
is also a temple. I mean, it's also a shrine to football and an amazing place to watch a game, if you don't mind the company. But the way the Rose Bowl is built is all of the amenities are outside. You have to walk across a bridge to get to the concessions, to get to the food. It's a design like I've never seen.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In a stadium, and it's just,
well, it's not quite, but in some parts you do. But
yeah. I mean, wherever I sat, if you wanted to do any of that stuff, you actually had to kind of leave the
really? That's weird.
The arena,
and I'm trying to remember if it's the north or south end zone.
And the view is just there's
a little moat, and there's a bridge. But here's the thing, and I didn't want to say this, but oh my God, what the heck? We're all human. I'm sure we've all been in scenarios like this, but getting in there is difficult.
Yeah,
because it's in the neighborhood down. It's you got to allow a lot of time. And yesterday I did. Left downtown LA. I was staying at LAX, but I didn't want press box food, and I hadn't been feeling well, so I'm going to go to a place and get some chicken noodle soup. So I went to a great old deli in downtown LA, which is kind of on the way to Pasadena. I gave myself 3 hours to get to the game from downtown LA.
Yeah, 11 miles, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I walked into the press box. It was 18 miles, 15, 16 miles, something like that. So not far. So I walked in the press box a few minutes before the kickoff. So why 3 hours? The traffic, and they shut down I had a parking pass, and they shut down the lot. And I didn't even know because we're talking about this stadium being a valley, and I'm up in this neighborhood that's up a little bit, so I can't see anything. And I want to make a turn that I need to get to this neighborhood to get to the stadium. The cops won't let me, and they say go right instead of left. So I go right, and I come back around and get a different line, and then I sit there. So I'm stopped at one point for about an hour without moving, and there's nowhere to go.
I would have lost my mind.
Why didn't you take the train in?
People were getting out. People were getting out of their cars and walking up. There was a lot of confusion. It was just a mess. And whatever, it happens sometimes. We're human beings, we're messy. But what are you doing when you're sitting there and you're in a neighborhood? There are no public places around. And you got to go to the bathroom. And you have a wonky bladder anyway. What are you doing? You know what I mean? So
you use the back seat.
Well, you usually wait for new wave music to start playing.
I was so fortunate that because I hadn't been feeling great on the way up, I'd stopped at a gas station and got a cup of ice, and so I just tossed the ice out and used the cup.
Oh, you just peed in the ice so it wouldn't smell.
Oh yeah, but then there would have been room. You don't want it to overflow. But anyway, I mean, so that was an experience doing that, trying to get into a game. Nobody's moving. People are frustrated. Okay. Although it was fun to watch. Alabama and Michigan fan, they were both in the lines around me. They were getting out of the cars and trying to help each other. So that was kind of fun to see them hanging out.
Well, the reason I asked you about the Rose Bowl is because you were talking about Dallas, and Jerry World is one of my least favorite stadiums I've ever been to. I hate it with a passion. I think
love it.
What do you love about it?
I just like how big and grand it is. I like how when you're in downtown Dallas or just about, and you get up on one of those, there are all these mixers, we call them in Texas, where the interstate's kind of east and west, north, south move, and you have so you take these elevated ramps to go from one to another, one freeway to another, and you get up and you can see the stadium.
I know,
you know what I mean?
But I never thought I'd feel this way, but the stadium is way too big. I remember, and I don't get to sit in the press box, but we had okay seats, and I felt like I watched that stupid scoreboard more than I watched the field when you're sitting in those seats.
It's a spectacular scoreboard. I like it because you can walk around. I mean, it's just
I couldn't walk around though. You could not fully walk around. At least when I went, they had a whole section, like a VIP section, roped off, and you couldn't walk around.
No, I don't mean walk around the whole thing, but you can move around. I like the way it holds noise. Partly too, I'm biased. Cowboys fans are some of the best in the NFL, and I know maybe that you think of them as Michigan fans, but they dress up, man, and not just in the cowboy boots and all that, but you just see all these folks in these great, crazy sort of get-ups and all this paraphernalia hanging off of accoutrement, whatever, as Mike would say in his Francophile business. But yeah, no, I think it's a really fun place.
Yeah. You
just have to remember to watch the players and not the screen, because that screen is massive and it's in your face no matter where you are. Yeah. It is distracting.
I went to see Mike, by the way, in that very stadium. If I'm not mistaken, I climbed. It acted like we're climbing a mountain, but he was up near the Dr. Pepper sign or somewhere.
Yeah, now I know why you were carrying that cup of what I thought was Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
You made him laugh.
Oh, that was yeah.
I think Michigan State was still in that game until Shawn came to see me and put the whammy on us.
Oh yeah, you're right. That was one of those teams where we don't want to talk about why it's hard to win at schools like that. But Michigan State was really good in the trenches that year, but didn't have the skill players.
Some years San
Antonio had the skill guys, but didn't have the trenches, and it's hard to get both at a school like Alabama. Oddly enough, didn't have skill players like they normally do. Yeah. They had guys in the trenches, but offensively, it's hard to put it all together. Anyway, if we're talking stadiums real quickly, U.S. Bank where the Vikings play.
Oh, that looks badass.
That is my favorite. Outside of Lambeau, if you like the history, Soldier Field's cool too, but in Lambeau, Arrowhead's kind of cool in its own way in Kansas City, but U.S. Bank is my favorite stadium.
Well, what about NRG?
Where?
In Houston, NRG, we're the champion. Isn't that what it's called?
Oh, well, yeah, we'll see. The thing I like about U.S. Bank, too, is the on one half that's glass at the top and the skyline's right there. The fans are great. They do that whole Viking horn. Those people, they love that team. Interestingly enough, not that I want to go down this road, I think one of the reasons
Here he
people have been
goes.
listening to us a little bit more is because we've been largely apolitical. But so I'm just making an interesting observation. So the NFL does this hometown heroes. They have a veteran or not come out on the it's part of a U.S. military contract the NFL has to promote sort of patriotism in the military.
Yeah.
And it usually gets in Detroit and most stadiums I've seen, it gets a really, really loud roar. In Minnesota, it was polite applause. Maybe
really.
It was interesting. Yeah, and I turned a couple of people. I know these socialists don't want the patriotism shoved down their throat. I thought that was funny, but I noticed it. Yeah, it was noticeable. It was interesting.
That's ridiculous.
So, Shawn, let's go.
Even though we do know it's paid and it's a little bit of theater, but that's still a person that sacrificed.
No, they applauded, but it just it just made me wonder if they felt like they were being manipulated or it was propaganda. I don't know. It was weirdly noticeable. Maybe it was just that one time, and it was Christmas. It was Christmas Eve. Maybe they were distracted. I don't know. But great stadium.
What was let's go back to Dallas for a minute because you have logged some serious miles going from a late night game in Dallas to 5 o'clock game in LA, but it went late and that's a lot of travel. What was the mood like after the game in Dallas? Did you get down in the locker room? Were you there for Campbell's press conference?
Yeah, I got in late. I thought I was. Yeah, because of the crazy nature, the nature of the finish.
Well, and a brutal deadline.
And we have to file at the end of the game our first column, and then the second column can be a little bit more thoughtful and that kind of thing. But so I walked in. I thought at first I was confused. I thought, well, sure, I'll be catching the end. But I walked in and he was walking to the podium. And then I later realized that he was at the podium and he was so mad he walked away from the podium for a second and then walked back.
Yeah.
Not like he was going to leave, but he just couldn't contain it like a big cat, right? He just couldn't.
There was one little
himself.
thing in that press conference that's like, that's another reason I really like Dan Campbell is when I think it was Dave Burkett that asked the question.
It was Dave, yeah. Dave asked him why he was frustrated.
Yeah, and Dan was like, why wouldn't you be just kind of went off on him, but then goes, I'm sorry about that, Dave. Because he realizes, it's wins and losses. They did get royally screwed. There's
a lot at stake, right? I mean, it's just.
Was there that much?
Yeah, of course there is. Well,
why?
First of all, there's a second home playoff game. That's all. So
sure. I understand with that, but they were locked into the third no matter what. So you're a little bit of house money. But I like that he wants to win. Period. I mean, they won that game. The Lions won that game and got screwed by the official.
The path is easier to the end.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know all that.
They get that second game that all of a sudden the NFC Championship game isn't really that crazy to think about at all. I mean, it may not be. Anyway,
I just mean it wasn't a matter of them making the playoffs or not making the playoffs like in the past. It wasn't a matter of first seed or not.
These guys are so wired and so competitive to get to this stage in life. Harbaugh's similar. I've seen him heated after.
Sure.
God, I can't remember the loss in particular where he was just almost apoplectic. He was so mad.
Maybe that Ohio State game, the fourth down.
Could be, 26, but not 26. Was it 2016? The fourth down?
Yes, it was. That's where it was. It was in Columbus. It was in Columbus. Yep. That's exactly what it was. Yep.
Well,
and they thought they got a raw deal on the spot. What's that?
I said I can understand why he'd be heated. That was a call that could have gone either way that cost him the game. Tell us what Campbell was like in there. I mean, we could hear him on the radio. I don't know how much of his press conference got broadcast on TV, but was he significantly different than you've ever seen him before? I mean, were you worried that he might inflict harm on someone? I mean,
I thought he was going to pick up that ref and throw him right after.
He was like that. From what I understand, he was like that in his Monday press conference yesterday too. Yeah. He even got a little testy. He was tired of talking about the end of the game. He said he's got control. What was the phrase, Mark? Controlled fury?
Yeah. Because I mean, there's nothing. Here's the thing: there's nothing that could happen once the penalty's called. The penalty's called, right? I think the insult is the fact that the pool report and this official just going, yeah, no, number 70 reported, number 68 didn't, which is just bullshit. And it reminded me.
Yeah, that's not what happened. Yeah.
When we talked after, because we did a immediate reaction, my first thought was, boy, this reminds me a lot of Galarraga's perfect game.
Yeah.
And it was just a clear mistake by an official. But you remember the reaction of that? And maybe this is the difference between baseball and football. Jim Joyce was crying, admitted he screwed up, said he feels really bad for Galarraga. And here it's the NFL, so they can never, ever admit that they made a flat-out mistake. And that was a mistake.
Well, and do you remember what happened after Jim Joyce admitted it? In the next game, Jim Leland sent him out with the lineup card. I mean, they really... And I think Galarraga and Joyce wrote a book together.
You remember?
Yeah. I mean...
There's a humanity there too, right? Yeah. Everybody screws up, but just admit when you screw up. And the fact that this ref is like, no, that's not what happened. Number 70's been reporting the whole game, so he reported again. And it's like, and the thing that gets me about it is the fact that Dan Campbell says, we told them before the game, if we run a 2-point conversion, this is most likely going to be one of the plays. I mean, that they went over that before the game.
Should the Lions be faulted at all? Somebody up in the booth for not catching the announcement where they said number 70 is eligible? I mean, should somebody have called the coach and said, throw the beanie, throw the red flag? I mean, they called the wrong number, or is it just, does it happen so fast that...
So much fog, I would think, right? I mean, that's how the old referee messes up, because you see Skipper, I mean, you can see him looking at Skipper running out while Decker and Sewell are basically in his face, one of them reporting, we know.
And then the Lions, I think, are trying a little bit of gamesmanship there. Not with the referees, but with the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's why they sent 3 guys out to report, 100%, right?
100%, yeah.
Which one of them's going to get... But
that's why you tell them before the game that we're going to do this.
Right, but was there enough time for somebody to catch that number was called?
The ref goes and tells the defense who's reporting too, right?
No, I know, and he made that mistake. But ML, that's a good question, because usually they reported over the PA,
and they did Bros. I don't know if you've heard that soundbite.
I did not hear it on the TV broadcast.
So on the ticket they played the Dallas play-by-play, and you could hear number 70 is eligible. They announced it over the loudspeaker in AT&T Stadium, so anyone paying attention heard that 70 was eligible. I wonder if there's somebody up in the Lions, the offensive corner is like, 70, wait, no, 70, no, wait. I mean, or did it happen so fast that there's not time to hit the brakes? I mean, Shawn, did you hear it when you were there?
That's a great question.
No, did I hear the Skipper was out? Yeah, I did.
So you heard him say 70 is eligible before the play?
Yeah, I did.
So what did you think? Did anybody ask Campbell at the press conference, like, hey, when why not call a timeout?
I can't remember if that was the press box announcement or the stadium announcement. I don't know. I'm a little loopy. It would make more sense. Usually you hear it at the stadium, right?
Yeah. Usually hear it on TV.
They did announce it over the PA. So when you heard it in the press box that it was 70 and they threw to 68, did you immediately think, oh, that's coming back, or did it not register until?
No, it didn't register partly because it was hard for me to see that it was 68 at first, and then I realized it was Decker, But no, it did, and the flag was thrown fairly quickly. So
it was. Was it flown? Was it thrown quickly? Because it took him forever.
It felt like it. Listening
to Dan,
like they waited a minute. I mean, it was thrown within 10 seconds, 15 seconds, probably at the most, right?
That flag was thrown a lot later than it should have been, though. If it was that obvious of a mistake.
Well, if you're the ref and you knew it was 70, you would have noticed right away it wasn't
5-6. Yeah, there was a 5-6 second. I mean, it's funny how time you think our perception of time is so warped sometimes. But there were definitely a few seconds where the Lions were celebrating.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, Mark and I talk about this all the time in broadcast. What seems like a blink of an eye is an eternity. So
feels like it, yeah.
15 seconds. That's
a long time.
That's a really long time.
Yeah, I don't know that it was 15 seconds. I bet it was 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there.
It felt like it was quite a while at home, because I remember Teresa jumping up and down and me being like, well, I guess the Lions win. But she was losing her mind. And then,
I'm
like,
admit it.
I said, there's a flag. He's ineligible. which I couldn't believe because there's no way you would throw to a guy who didn't report. There's no way. And Campbell's a tight end, so he plays on the line, so he knows all that shit.
Well, I love it's like the Zapruder film. I mean, every piece of video evidence is getting just broken down, from every which angle. And then my two favorites are Skipper, when he just goes,
"Oh yeah,
I didn't say a fucking word." Like, just you can read his mouth. That was that's pretty. The fact that he said it right away, it's like, yeah, I kind of believe that guy. But the other one is Jared Goff, who, you know how I feel about Goff. I think he's a good quarterback and nothing more. But the smarts of him to grab Decker and say, "You go report" when they're in the huddle shows that he went to report. You wouldn't just make that up. I mean, there's nothing to make up there.
The drive to put him in the position to win the game.
Yeah,
Goff was great.
I know, but it's also the end of a game where the defense gives you a lot of space.
Well, let me. I know I don't know anything about football, but let me back up. Let's see how my recall is. But didn't Dallas throw an incomplete in their last series, which put 45? I mean, that allowed the Lions to get back in the game because they would have burned off so much clock. I watch plays like that in the last couple minutes of the game where coaches allow.
But you just
just seems so stupid.
Wait a sec. You just were talking about Washington last night and not letting Penix do something and throw. So
no. The only reason why I don't think I didn't want Penix to throw. No. I didn't want the ball to leave Penix's hand. That's what I'm saying. So when they give it to the running back, everybody on the line is going to try and strip him, where Penix can just kind of run into the line with that ball, locked up. And if there's anybody on the field for Washington who I have faith in, it's a 32-year-old quarterback.
Sure.
Who is, if it hadn't been for the guy at LSU, would have been my lights out choice for the Heisman.
Without a doubt, yeah.
But in that case, running the ball was absolutely the right move. I just wouldn't have let the running back do it, and he got hurt, and that cost Washington 30 to 45 crucial seconds. But with Dallas, I just couldn't believe they threw and didn't run it and burn some more clock off, because I don't know that the Lions would have made it to the end if they had to. If they had that much less time. These are just plays that people who, which is pretty much everybody I understand, who are smarter than me about football, make, and I'm wondering what the hell. I mean, this is why I'm kind of down on replay, because very rarely does a big game come down to one play. Maybe there's one play at the end that hurts you, but there's probably a play earlier in the game that helped you, and
every play is not done in a vacuum. Every play affects another one. But tell me, like, last night's Rose Bowl wouldn't have been different if that interception in the first play of the game doesn't get overturned.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. We're all talking about the run into the line in overtime. But if the first play of the game goes differently, we maybe don't get to overtime.
That being said, if you go back to the Lions game, Campbell going for it on 4th and goal, I think from the 4-5, and not kicking the field goal, and then in the first half, a lot of people like saying, "You kicked the field goal there, you won the game." It's like, well, no, not necessarily, because plays will be called differently after that.
Well, or Derek Barnes whiffing on Dak Prescott when he had him for a safety.
I mean that.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could also argue.
That's what's great about the game, is so many plays can mean so many different things.
Well, for those people who want to argue,
want to break them. As smart as Mike is about football, and everything really in the world,
the man genius they call me.
Yeah, Mr. Genius, I like that. Mr. Handsome Genius is probably a little better. We don't necessarily want to go into breaking down the games, do we?
No, but I'm just saying that when you watch these games, everybody talks about these key moments at the end of the game, but there are moments throughout the game that could be crucial. And if you want to come back to the Wolverines and say they truly are the number one team, that the sign stealing didn't matter, all this other stuff didn't matter, they made the biggest gaffes in that game, and they won that game. I mean, almost a pick to start the game. Two dropped catches on kicks, and they won. And if you make mistakes like that and you still win, that's always my argument, that if you really are the better team, you can overcome bad calls and you can overcome mistakes if you're truly that much better than the opponents. And as much as it pains me to say it today and every day from here on till the rest of my life, or until the game is vacated, Michigan was the better team on New Year's Day and truly is the number one team in the country.
So who are you rooting for on a week from, or 6 days from now, on Monday?
Oh, I'm going for that big Penix energy.
You're the worst. After what they did to you on your trip to Seattle? It made you infamous with your surrender Cobra, or no, your look of despair?
Yeah, it was not a slur under Cobra. It was a look of disdain.
And you're still going to root for that team that beat up on your Spartans 2 years in a row.
Well, I'll tell you what. After watching that tight end Wendover, I think it was, he owned the Spartans. He could do no wrong in Spartan Stadium, and he's been that way every game since.
You don't want your Michigan friends like me to be happy?
You have a full life. You have beautiful children.
I want it to be full.
An understanding
I'm
wife.
greedy.
You get to be on this show every week. I think you've got a lot going for you already.
I rooted for the Spartans against Alabama.
Did you?
Just saying. Yes, because of that very fact. I knew a lot of people that were at the game.
It didn't make a difference.
I'm not spiteful, right, Shawn?
No, you're not. You're a beautiful soul.
Nobody, particularly on this show, has ever accused me of being a quality human being, so I'm glad to not disappoint once again.
You're a kind man.
Shawn, before we let you get some Ludens, best experience of the weekend, was it in Dallas or was it in Pasadena? And I know one game ended differently, but the energy of the fans, you've talked about Lions fans, what a pack they've been and how they've taken over places. You saw Michigan fans get something that they don't see very often, which is a Rose Bowl victory and a CFP victory. I think you can argue that Harbaugh has now surpassed Bo Schembechler as one of the best coaches in Michigan history. I think I'd probably put Lloyd Carr up there for the last 75 years too. But
they both rebuilt the program after some dead years.
And they both succeeded where Schembechler never did. They've won the big games.
I meant Bo and Harbaugh. I mean, they both rebuilt the program after some down years.
Sure. Maybe they both have the same blind spot for a certain physician, but so I go with Lloyd on that one. But great games, both of them. Which was the better experience for you as both a professional and as someone who just appreciates the spectacle?
Probably Friday night, the night before the Dallas game. I was in Austin, Texas, at this wild house with all these
green jackets,
and people are walking up, handing beers, and open up little tins with joints. And it's interesting because it's of course illegal in Texas, but no, that was and then there was just food coming off this grill, cooking over oak, scallops and ribeyes and stuffed jalapenos.
Where were you?
Way to not answer his question.
Yeah, did Wojo have a cookout?
No, that was by far my favorite scene. Hanging out with people I've known since I was 12.
Way better than Christmas with the family.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know about that.
Just giving you shit.
But no, it was, and I don't do that very often. It was. Who knows? I was up way past what I could normally stay up to. I mean, out.
And then you got mono from one of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. So a great night for Shawn in Dallas.
I don't. If I'm being objective, then the Rose Bowl. I don't know. I just think there's more to it's just more to the Lions story. First of all, the whole state loves them. It's just a bigger story, and the way they competed against a team that scored 40 points a game and hadn't lost at home, and they won 16 straight games at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, actually between Dallas and Fort Worth.
It's a suburb of Dallas, I understand.
The theater of that,
right,
how compelling that is against the biggest brand in football. Let's be real. Well, the Cowboys are the biggest brand of football, and so to have that unfold the way it did, to come back to give themselves a chance, you're like, okay, the Lions really are, they're showing something. They might be able to go on the road and win a play. Yeah, I just think the 30-year story, there's just a lot more going on with the Lions right now. It's a great story with Michigan. If Harbaugh wins a title, it's been a really interesting year. It's great. The Rose Bowl is
it was a playoff. It was a playoff game too.
It's a playoff game, but there was something about the intensity of that Lions Cowboys game, and maybe it's just partly because of it's professional football and the skill level's better and all that, right?
Yeah, they were both.
It's the highest level of something. So that but just the passion. The Cowboys fans are like college fans.
Yeah.
They're crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of that NFC. The
best
NFC
way.
East is kind of like a college division of the NFL, right? With the Redskin fans and the Giants.
Well, plus there's just not much college football in Texas.
Well, I mean, their big team
was because he doesn't know anything about football.
Historically, there has been, but the Cowboys
they don't really get into high school football either. There, it's more of a lacrosse state, right behind Maryland.
No, it's just. I just think the whole state of Michigan was wanted to go after that ref, right? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Even I was indifferent. That's how positive. That's how unified this state is behind the Lions.
All I know is America won because both America's teams won, the Cowboys and Michigan.
Oh yeah. That's interesting. Self-declared America's teams.
Stupid.
So no, that's
so ridiculous.
That's how I would say. Whoever asked that question, that's how I would say. Yeah, the Rose Bowl is beautiful. And
there's only two of us. It's kind of.
I think he needs to go.
Great theater in the Rose Bowl, but it's just the way that Cowboys in and the way the Lions lost, the reaction, the way the Lions fans in this, they're so invested.
Yeah,
I mean they've always been invested. It's always been an incredible fan base,
and now we have a home playoff game coming. The final game.
You imagine what Ford Field's going to be like? 2 weeks
no, it's going to be nuts.
It is. I mean, it will be.
Yeah,
it'll be. Yeah, the downtown Detroit, the way downtown Detroit's going to feel that day in the lead up, but especially if it's a night game, which it may well be because right now they're on track to play the Rams with Matthew Stafford, and of course that narrative is going to be juicy for the rest of the country.
Yep,
because the Lions are becoming must-watch TV.
Yep,
they do keep you on the edge of your seat. Well, Shawn, we want to let you get your entertainment out of there before they start charging for another day. We'll be very curious to see what you find in the back of your conveyance when you get back, and we hope that you get some Dayquil because you sound like a man who needs some rest. And
I do. My conveyance was locked up in downtown LA last night, so I had to. It was the end of a long.
Was it seized? Was this a forfeiture? Well, wait, don't answer that. Tell people next week.
I parked in
on ML.
I went to the media hotel to finish the second column, and I parked in a really sketchy garage. It was close to it, and I saw the 24-hour sign. I didn't look at the fine print. It was only on Friday and Saturday, not Sunday. So I filed a column, and I'm walking out at like 1:00 in the morning. And all the garage doors, it's all gated and sealed and shut. And there's locks and there's nobody to call. And I thought, oh, okay. Well, that sucks. My rental car's in there, but that's all right. So I just had to take an Uber.
Okay. Well, when you get that rental car back, you may want to take a black light to it just to make sure.
So who knows what's going to be in the car this time?
Just another reason to come back next week.
Or what's going to be in the car?
Yeah. Well, Shawn, get some rest and safe travels.
All right,
thanks, guys. Always a pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Oh, man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
I may not know much about football, but everything else
really burned, didn't it?
Everything else I see I'm telling you, somewhere there's a yellow jacket waiting for me on the north side of Chicago, but I think they're waiting for me to actually retire. I'm like Jaromir Jagr. I just keep playing, so my eligibility clock never starts. But one thing I do see clearly is everything, because 15 years ago I got LASIK surgery, and I still have amazing 20 to 15 far vision, which is better than the definition of perfect. So 20/20 is perfect vision. 20/15 means you can see better than you were born with. This has changed my life. I used to wear contacts, and I would get cysts on my eyelids, and I was one of these guys who was really meticulous about keeping my contacts clean. I didn't sleep in them. I used those enzymatic tablets, if you remember when they had all those.
Dude, same boat, man.
Yeah, spent tons of money on saline solution, everything. I would still get these eye infections. I played tons of sports. I was getting sick of the contacts, so I finally got LASIK, and it's been a game changer for me. Dr. Yaldo can hook you up with custom LASIK, and it's better now than it was when I had it done. I was in my 50s, and I'm now in my mid-50s, and I'm starting to notice that my near vision is going. I need reading glasses, and that's really a hassle because that's what happens with the natural aging of your eyes. And that can be frustrating. I keep glasses in every room, even though I can see down the street like nobody's business. Reading the paper can get tricky, and I still do read the paper. But Dr. Yaldo can help you with that too. With bifocal implants, these are lenses that are a revelation. They give you precise vision up close and far away that won't change for the rest of your life. You'll see the small stuff on your phone again, and for the rest of your life, no new prescriptions, no new glasses, no contacts, and no reading glasses. You can throw them all in the trash. It's a life-changing procedure, and you can get a free evaluation and let Dr. Yaldo explain it, demonstrate it, and starting this year and for the rest of your life, you'll see more clearly than you ever have. To find out more, go to 800-308-EYES, that's EYES, 308-EYES, or go to YaldoEyeCenter.com. We'll have a link to Dr. Yaldo's website on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. And please, if you go to Dr. Yaldo, let him know that ML sent you. It's very important for our sponsors to know that you are coming to them because you heard about it here. So please let Dr. Yaldo know. We love having him back on the show. And of course, we're grateful that Luke Nowacki is still with us as well, because if you're planning for your future, if you want to see the future a little more clearly, find somebody who has 2015 vision when it comes to planning for your finances.
Oh, wow. What a great segue.
I can see clearly now the Shawn is gone.
Well, it is 2024 now, so Happy New Year. And if you're one of those people that was always saying, you know what, next year I'm going to worry about my finances. I'm going to deal with investing in equities and bonds. I'm going to deal with it next year. Well, next year is here. So get your head up, be prepared. If you want some help managing your assets, we recommend Luke Nowacki and Zach at Pinnacle Wealth Management. Give them a free call at 248. Well, of course the call's free, but for a free consultation, 248-663-4748. Talk to him and find out, hey, where should I put my money? What should I do? He'll consult you and then maybe take it from there. But give him a call, 248-663-4748.
Because when you call Luke and Zach, they'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. member FINRA-SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
Boy, I had a lot of candidates for Geek of the Week, and I was going to start with Jimmy Johnson, who is a broadcast professional.
Yeah.
But his speech was so salty that other broadcast professionals dropped the audio on it. I don't know if anybody else caught that.
I did not know that, no.
Oh, yeah. I think he was basically saying F you to the whole world who doubted the boys back in the day. And so they cut the audio on him. And then, I'm tempted to criticize Jimmy Johnson for saying he made the speech all about him, but he was the one who was being honored. So yeah. I guess
being honored way too late, by the way. And the guy's already in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
You could see Jerry Jones too. He's like, "That's why I fired this guy. He's taking my spotlight again." And
you got it.
And that was kind of ridiculous. But so Jimmy, no, you don't get it. And I thought about the refs in that game. Just a monumental gaffe, which they're refusing to acknowledge, and which is obvious to everyone. But no, I'm not going to name the refs because that one's too easy. This one may be too easy as well, but I'm going to name the Lions ownership and management as our Geek of the Week because for years, they've broken season ticket holders' hearts by putting a substandard product on the field. And shortly after putting a team on the field that you can feel good about, that feel like you're getting your money's worth out of these guys, they jack the prices up through the roof. So all these regular folks who've been digging deep to hold onto their seats, waiting for this team to be worth paying for, they now are contemplating the hard decision of saying, I'm either going to have to give up these seats now that I've got what I've waited for, or I'm going to have to give up something else so I can continue to watch this team. So the Lions ownership, you stopped breaking our hearts on the field, and now you're breaking hearts at the bank. So great job putting that team together, but this is no way to treat a loyal fan base. You are my Geek of the Week.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night.
So this is the day in which those of us who have been skeptical and critical of Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines have to humble ourselves, or as Mayor Kilpatrick would say, humble ourselves before the great big blue and not yellow, but maize throne. And so I am going to try and be a man about this and acknowledge that when it comes to college football in the state of Michigan in 2024, Jim Harbaugh can say with pride, I am the man.
Pretty soon now, you know I'm gonna make a comeback. And like the birds and the bees in the trees, it's a show past smack. I'll speak to the masses through the media. And if you got anything to say to me, say it with cash. Cause I got the trash and you got the cash, so baby we should get along fine. So give me all your money, cause I know you think I'm funny. Can't you hear me laugh? Can't you see me smile? I'm the man, 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 do the yo-yo. Kung Fu, well, that was one of my good ones. Well, what's a few backbones when we all know it's good, clean fun? Skateboards, I've almost made them respectable. You see, my kind always get through to you, so I'll go for your son. I had a giant water shark, really made a mark. Did you think I look at all that blood? So give me all your money, cause I know you think I'm funny. Can't you hear me laugh? Can't you see me smile? I'm the man, 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 I'm the man,
I said it.
It's not all about Harbaugh, you know that.
It sure seems like it is. It sure seems like it is.
He's the figurehead.
But that's okay. In college football, I do think the coach should be the lightning rod, should be the one that takes all the heat and tries to keep the focus off the guys. Just because when that light gets concentrated on them, it can turn into a laser beam, and then
easier when you're winning.
You need to pick your next witticism carefully, Mr. Bond, when that happens. But yeah, so that's That's Joe Jackson, I'm the Man, suggested by one of our listeners. As you know, in 2024, we are expanding Room 7609 to listen to music, deep cuts, and maybe some obscure bands that you love that are not necessarily new wave. But I want to tell you, if you're going to suggest something for us, give us a story too, because to me, the music is great, but the best part is the story that goes with us. So we'll be loving your suggestions, but tell us why you sent it to us, and tell us a little something about that act so that we have more than just the music. We have something to take with us and think about when the last note has faded. We want to thank our donors. This is before our Patreon started. If you want to support us, go to patreon.com, look for ML Soul of Detroit. You can sign up at several different levels. There are benefits at each level. And if you go to our top level, you get every single benefit. So the way it works is you sign up, and if you're at the lowest level, you get a benefit. And you can look at and see what that is on Patreon. If you sign up for the next level, you get that benefit plus everything below it. So you never get less, you always get more. But these are folks who gave their money, just expecting us to come back every week. And of course, Bryant has been someone who's supported us for a long time. He says, another great episode. It was great to hear from Erica on how she's doing as she's missed from Fox 2. And I think that's absolutely true. And I think you know why she's missed, because she really gave our show a great boost of energy, insights, and she's an interesting person and a real sweetheart, and I don't mean that in a patronizing way. I mean just someone who's very kind, very thoughtful, and a lot of fun, a good colleague. And boy, I'll tell you what,
man.
Yeah, she is great in this medium. So wherever she goes, that's where she's going to succeed. So we also have another donation here, and yes, I'm stalling because it comes from DJ Weiser. DJ had a message for us, and I'm failing horribly in finding that message. So
sure, it was positive.
It was very positive.
Was it really?
Yeah. No. He says.
Oh, he's the guy catching up on all the old shows, right?
He says,
I love
hello,
this dude.
crew. Thanks for putting on a great show. Since Room 7609 is changing, I want to throw 2 songs at you. Van Halen, couple,
Done.
and let's see, Crossing Over. It was on the B side of Can't Stop Loving You, and Toaster Talk is Cheap. So we'll have to look those up.
That one. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Last time I heard Van Halen, I was in my boxing class, and we were doing this one particular exercise, and every time they said jump, you had to do jumping jacks. And let me tell you, I didn't realize how many times they said, go ahead and jump, until I was about
All you have to do is watch that terrible video.
Fall on the ground. It's
like the only Van Halen, David Lee Roth song I don't like is Jump.
Panama.
I love that band.
Oh yeah, not a big fan. But
really,
no.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Hot for Teacher, Unchained.
Yeah, no. Somehow their genius.
You're gonna rock out.
Their genius eluded me. I was more on heavier metal when they were big. Okay. I considered them more of a hair band. Although I must say, David Lee Roth may be one of the most entertaining frontmen in all of rock and roll history.
Pretty ridiculous.
But back then, I was more of a Who guy, more Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, that sort of thing. I didn't even like Def Leppard. I thought they were kind of soft. But
really, wow.
Yeah, Joe. I mean, come on, the feathered hair. That's it, man. That's it. So DJ Weiser also says, thanks finally for humoring me when I caught up on a podcast I started from March 7th, 2021 and ended at September 6th, 2022. Now he's current. Mark, stop making Shawn and ML fight. We need more Erickson on the show. I hope you can get Mr. Stevenson back on. He's the Motown Records.
That was a good dude.
Yeah, the A&R guy who signed Stevie Wonder. If you didn't hear that episode, go back and check some of these old episodes like DJ Weiser did. There's some great stuff there, and it'll help you kill a lot of time in the best possible way. He says, thanks from your dude, Bill, a.k.a. DJ Weiser. A little bit of feedback. David says, in case you haven't already discussed, I would love to hear from Shawn about what it was like to talk to and be in front of Dan Campbell in the immediate aftermath of Saturday's theft. Go Lions, go Blue. You did hear from Shawn, and it sounds like it was pretty intense. Mm-hmm. David also said that he really appreciated the show in which we talked about LA Confidential and Johnny Stompanato and Lana Turner. Oh, yeah. He says there's a soon-to-be-released book from an author he regularly reads covering the couple's relationship, Johnny Stompanato's death, and the trial is called A Murder in Hollywood. So check that one out if you've gotten some good old reading. Boy, and Michelle weighs in. We talked a little bit about what does it matter. Mark's like, hey, they're in the playoffs. They got a home game and all that other stuff. Well, Michelle brings up a very dollars and cents point on that. What would an extra January home game be worth to the franchise and local Detroit economy? Presumably tens of millions of dollars that they lost with that ref's blunder.
No doubt.
It seems like everyone is scared to hammer this home because the NFL threw Detroit a bone with the upcoming draft. Games seem fixed to me, and everybody we watched it with agrees. They also didn't call a blatant offensive hold on that 95-yard Cowboy TD. Why does the media from TV to local news to print all pretend max fixing can't or doesn't happen, especially since this is Detroit, where we've witnessed firsthand corruption at the highest level of government, judicial bench, healthcare, and academia. It's like media personalities are scared to even mention the mere potential of rigging or match fixing.
I can understand how someone feels that way, but I got to say, I don't think the NFL would be in the business to screw over a franchise that is one of their biggest advertisers in Ford. I mean, make no mistake about it. That's why they got 2 Super Bowls, was because the Ford family owns the team and they're massive advertisers.
Well, people want to give credit to Kwame Kilpatrick for the Super Bowl. Well, actually, Kwame Kilpatrick wants to take credit for the Super Bowl. That was decided years before he took office, and people want to...
But a big part of that was because William Clay Ford, and I know he's not the most popular guy here, lobbied for it because of who the family is.
Sure.
And everything Ford has done, advertising-wise for the NFL. I think it'd be a lot harder to fix games than people think it is. Look at how they busted J-Mo with the geofencing and gambling. I mean, you telling me they don't do the same for officials?
Yeah, and if there's one team that they might tank a game for, I could see it being Dallas, but with all eyes on them, and I wonder with the referees.
Well, the problem is it's good for the NFL when Dallas is winning.
Sure.
Period, without a doubt.
Sure, and
so that's why I would feel that way. I think it's a lot harder to do than people think.
Well, I don't think there's anybody not saying it because they're worried about ramifications on their career. If you work for the local media and you want to argue that the home team got jobbed, nobody's going to come after you for that. In fact, I think there are people who may come after you for not rallying for the home 11. But yeah, I'll tell you what, if you're going to fix a game.
I do think home teams get more calls just by just human nature. You're in that kind of almost, in a kind of a confirmation bias where you have this whole crowd that is rooting for one side. I think an official might see things differently, and yeah, nobody's without bias, but yeah, the thing that pisses me off about the whole situation, we talked about it, is the fact that he can't admit he made a mistake. Plain and simple.
That's the other thing. This was obvious, and to not own it is problematic. And
not even that night, but today to come out and go, yeah, I screwed up. Sorry, because nothing's going to change the outcome of that.
Well, and he can just say, I misheard him. I got confused. I thought he said this. I thought he said that.
And that whole officiating crew has been downgraded now and will not officiate any playoff games. So they lose money on that call.
The other thing is the NFL. We see this in college where they'll send a letter of apology and they'll say,
which means nothing, but yeah.
But at least it's acknowledging that there was a mistake. And I think it goes back to what you said earlier in the show is with the NFL, they have to be infallible. They can't make a mistake, and they make mistakes all the time. And when you make mistakes all the time that are so obvious to everybody, I think you undermine confidence by not admitting to what we all know and pretend to be infallible. That's where you undermine confidence, when you're like, we never make a mistake. We're like, dude, you just did.
Yeah.
So next time you tell us you didn't make a mistake, we got to assume that it's another lie.
That's the NFL way, though. They never make mistakes. The Shield doesn't make mistakes.
Well, being the biggest money-making racket in all of pro sports means never having to say you're sorry, even to one of your biggest sponsors. And are you surprised that Sheila Ford Hamp hasn't said anything yet?
Yeah, I mean, it would go a long way for her to just make some kind of comment and say, we were screwed, but maybe there's ramifications for her as being an owner.
Do you think that now? I think when
do you think that would have stopped Jerry Jones if it was the other way around? No, he'd be out there right now making comment.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Jerry Jones was calling down to the field and saying 68 was ineligible. I mean, I don't think he was waiting for the final gun before he would complain.
Do you recall, and maybe it's just, seeing things through Honolulu blue and silver glasses, but I don't recall anybody on Dallas going, hey, you said that guy reported, not that guy. Like McCarthy wasn't doing it. None of the players were. That really kind of stood out to me. It's like, well, nobody, either way they would have made a mistake. If he didn't, if they didn't call the flag, you'd probably hear Dallas bitching about it, saying he told us number 70 Skipper was eligible and not 68.
Yeah, and that'd be a fair complaint. I mean, how can you blame them for
without a doubt
taking the ref at his word?
But immediately nobody did that, and the Lions, when the flag was thrown, were like, "No, we told you before the game. We told you he reported appropriately." It's one of those things that's going to go down in Lions lore, just like Calvin's not completing the process of the catch.
Sure.
It's just one more thing, or the pass interference call against Pettigrew that wasn't called. Remember when we played the game down in Dallas, 2015, I think?
I think I was at an airport when that happened. That was the one where Stafford finally showed a little bit of fire and was caught on the side on the mic saying something to the refs like, "Oh, come on, man, you know that's a bad call." I mean, it's like, ooh,
yeah. I think
it's really tearing them up.
I think where we are today with that game is, I want the NFL to make another statement, or somebody in the NFL to just admit that, yeah, that old man, referees are old and they're not full time and they screw up.
So there was a few seconds left on the clock, and I wonder if that's why Dallas wasn't jumping up and down, because they're thinking, okay, what do we do when we get the ball back? But if that was the last play of the game, is it unreasonable? Would it have been unreasonable to expect the NFL to make an announcement and say, you know what, that game ended with a wrong call. There's no time left. There's no chance for the other team to come back with some time on the clock. So we are awarding the victory to the Detroit Lions. No. But is that an unreasonable thing to expect if that was the final play of the game?
Yeah, but do you want to set that precedence? Oh, if it was the very final game?
That's what I mean. Is there was enough time for somebody to run back a kick or to throw a Hail Mary or do, the Memphis Miracle.
God, that's tough, man. Yeah.
But if it's all about we have replay and we have everything so that we don't miss a call.
If the idea is to get it right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me...
But once again, then the argument would have been from Dallas going, you told us that guy reported.
Right. So yeah, no, you're right. There's a lot of wrinkles.
Either way, a team is going to have a beef.
Yeah, it's...
God, what a sports weekend. Man.
It's like Sean's forehead when you mention anything in French. It's just a lot of wrinkles, and it don't get any better. So this is the new year. We appreciate you coming back. We had a great holiday. We hope you did too. I think nobody had a better holiday than Mark did, and he's looking forward to a big second weekend of the year next year, going down to Houston. Where are you staying?
I have no idea where I'm staying. My buddy booked the hotel, and when Michigan was down 20-13, he sent me a text that said, "I'm upgrading to a suite for good luck." And I said, "Okay, cool." And the second that clock ended, I'm like, "Where's this suite? Let's go."
But you've already got your tickets, so you had faith.
Well, you don't. I mean, when you buy them from the university, of course, they drag the process out. I don't think you can find out. I don't think you find out till Thursday night where your tickets are at. But credit card's been charged. I can tell you that much.
But you have tickets.
Flights are booked. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you just don't know where you're sitting, but you're going to.
I have a general idea based on the face value. Which, oh my God, have you seen some of the prices for this game?
I have no idea what they are.
$9,000. It kind of makes me want to sell it
for one ticket.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. These are initial resale tickets. That price that'll come down. That'll.
Oh, you're not talking about face value. You're talking.
No,
about,
I'm talking about resale.
Secondary market. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jeez.
You think I'd pay $9,000 for a ticket? Maybe.
Nobody in their right mind would, but
maybe.
But this is
a lifetime.
This may be your last chance to go.
Lifetime.
Yeah, because a lot of these guys are graduating.
Did I ever tell you the story of how I got boned over by Delta in 1997-98 for that Rose Bowl, the championship Rose Bowl?
No.
I had a ticket to that game, and I was flying out on New Year's Eve, and I was going to land and then go directly to the game, stay one night, and fly back. And the flight was delayed because of mechanical issues over and over and over. Spent New Year's Eve in the airport at DTW. They kept delaying the flight and finally just canceled it. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to make this game. This is ridiculous. So all because of Delta. I missed 97, so this is payback.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you think Charles White's death had anything to do with Michigan finally succeeding in the Rose Bowl? Was that a curse?
No,
that's
a
been
cheap
lifted.
shot. Don't do that to Charles.
No,
the infamous fumble.
It was a fumble.
Totally was a fumble. Replay would have proved that.
I know it was a fumble.
I remember growing up as a kid because that was 1980, 81.
Maybe 79. It was.
Remember in Chrysler? So I would have been really young, but remember Chrysler was really dark, and in the concourse they had all those like display cases. Mm-hmm. They had one for that game, and they had a giant picture blown up with the ball circled, just showing that it was a fumble. And I was like, that's really interesting. But now looking back, I'm like, I can't believe they had that in the trophy case.
Oh, I can believe it. Absolutely. Absolutely. So Mark is looking forward to a trip to Houston. We'll have to figure out how we're going to do the show next week. We got a little work to do, but we will be here next week. We hope you'll be with us. Please check out our Patreon, and please call Dr. Yaldo and Luke Nowacki for some help with making this year the best you've ever had, and every year from here on out even better. Shawn will be back probably remotely because I think he'll probably be on the road.
He'll be down there.
So it'll just be little old me holding down the studio.
I'll bring Erica in.
Oh yeah, maybe we will. That's I have to see if she got that tattoo. It seemed to me there was an oral contract there. And don't take that the wrong way. So we will see you next week. Until then, we turn to our friend Cyrus to, for the first time in 2024, take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
One-man threesome is here.
In a world where a man's word is his bond.
I'm not a machine. I can't just perform at the drop of a hat.
Since when?
Where honor and sacrifice rule the day. One man stands alone.
God, what kind of perfume is that? You are driving me crazy.
It's a dryer sheet. Calm down.
His name is Jim Harbaugh.
I'm riding commando right now.
According to Jim Harbaugh. Every week, only on ABC.